Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive that's really got people talking. Generative AI in higher education. I mean, are we about to see college completely transformed?
It certainly got everyone's attention, that's for sure. The speed at which things are moving is incredible.
You're telling me. And the material you've sent over, it's like a time capsule from the future academic papers, cutting-edge research, even a survey from university students themselves.
It's amazing to get that range of viewpoints, right? Professors who are right there on the front lines, students caught in the middle of it all, and researchers trying to figure out the bigger picture.
And that's what we're here to do, right? Dive in and make sense of it all. So one thing that pops out from all these sources, students are already using AI, and they're not afraid to voice their opinions about it.
That student survey you shared, it really highlights that.
Right. Student perspectives on the use of generative artificial intelligence technologies in higher education. It's not just a simple yes or no from them. Their thinking is way more complex.
Way more. People want to simplify it, but the reality is far more nuanced.
100%. Like, a lot of students were concerned about fairness, especially using AI to write entire essays. But then a good number of them also saw the potential benefits, like for grammar checks or figuring out research topics. It's fascinating.
Almost like they're drawing a line in the sand, like AI. Okay, but on our terms.
And that's crucial because it means we need clear guidelines, open conversations about all this in schools, in universities.
Absolutely. This isn't some tech we can just ban and pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out how to use it thoughtfully, ethically, as part of how we learn.
Because AI is here to stay, right?
It's not going anywhere.
So maybe the smart move isn't to fight it, but to understand it, use it to actually make education better.
Now you're talking. And that's where these papers you got, the research, it gives us a glimpse of what that might look like.
All right, let's get into it. One paper, Generative AI in Higher Education, exploring ways of harnessing pedagogical practices with the assistance of ChatGPT. Talk about a mouthful, but it had some really cool ideas.
It did. What specifically jumped out at you?
Well, one was personalized learning. I mean, imagine AI tailoring what you're learning to how you learn best. It's like having a personal tutor with you 24/7.
It's a powerful idea, and the early research, it's showing some real promise. There was one study mentioned in the paper using AI tutoring for math. Students using it. Significant improvement in their scores.
No way. That's amazing. Imagine the possibilities. What other subjects could we use that for?
Oh, the sky's the limit. Language learning, adapting to how you pronounce things, your grammar, history, changing how difficult it is based on what you already know.
So basically your own custom-made education. No more one-size-fits-all lectures and textbooks.
Got it. And this goes way beyond just the content itself. Think about how we assess students, the feedback we give that could all change.
Oh, tell me about it. I know professors who practically live in their offices during grading season.
Exactly. AI could be huge here. Imagine AI handling the first round of grading, giving students instant feedback, grammar, structure, even how strong their arguments are.
That would free up so much time for professors to actually, teach, to mentor, have deeper discussions.
Precisely. One research article you shared, it looked at using AI to grade essays, clarity, coherence, that sort of thing.
How'd it go?
Fascinating. In many cases, the AI's feedback was very similar to human graders, but it also picked up on things that humans sometimes miss, like subtle areas where students were struggling.
So it's not about replacing humans, but giving them another set of eyes, another perspective. That's really something.
It really is. And this technology, it's not just essays. We're talking math problems, coding assignments, you name it. And with it comes that potential for instant feedback, personalized guidance.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a complete shift in how we think about assessment in education.
I think we are. And it's a shift that could change everything about how students learn and how educators teach. It really is remarkable to think about what might be possible. But we got to be real. There are concerns, right? This level of technology, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right. Two sides to every coin. And we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about the potential downsides of AI in education, like what could go wrong?
Absolutely. And a big one, something that came up in a bunch of your sources, is that AI, it could actually make existing inequalities in education even worse.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. What kind of inequalities are we talking about?
Well, first off, not everyone has equal access to technology, right? Computers, good internet, tech support, not all students have that. If we're not careful with these AI tools, they could end up leaving some students behind, widening that gap between different backgrounds.
It's like we get so excited about AI personalizing learning that we forget not everyone's starting from the same place.
Exactly. And this ties into another concern from one of the research papers, the idea that AI could actually make existing biases in education even worse.
Now, that's something I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah, it's a big one. The paper talked about a study where they looked at a language model, kind of like ChatGPT, and how it responded to prompts about different jobs. What they found was the model had this clear gender bias. Engineering, surgery, those were linked to men, but nursing, teaching, women.
So even though these AI models are built on tons of data, that data itself, it might already have biases baked in.
Exactly. And then that gets reflected in what the AI puts out. In education, that's a huge problem. Because if we're using AI to create personalized learning, but the AI is biased, well, we're just reinforcing those same stereotypes.
It'd be like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and not a good one. We should be breaking down these biases, not giving them more power through technology.
100%. And that's why these conversations are so important. We got to be aware of this potential, this risk that AI could make inequalities worse and actively work against it.
So what can we actually do? We can't just abandon AI altogether, can we? Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Definitely not. AI still has so much potential to change education for the better. But we got to be smart about it, cautious.
So how do we do that? Where do we even begin?
Well, we got to be way more deliberate about how we design and build these AI systems. Get diverse voices involved. Make sure the data we use to train these models, it reflects the real world. And we got to constantly check these AI tools for bias. Make sure they're being fair.
Transparency seems like it would be key.
It's essential, and education is a perfect place for it. We need to be upfront with students about how AI works, what it's good at, what its limitations are, and the potential for bias. We should be teaching them not just to use AI, but to question it, critique it, to push for better, more ethical applications of this tech.
So it's not just about teaching them what to think using AI. It's about teaching them how to think about AI.
Exactly. It's about giving them the critical thinking skills they need in a world that's increasingly shaped by algorithms, artificial intelligence.
And speaking of critical thinking, that brings us to another concern from what you sent over. Could AI actually make students worse at thinking for themselves, at solving problems?
It's a valid worry. If students get too used to AI just giving them the answers, will they lose that drive, that ability to tackle tough problems on their own?
It's like that old saying, right? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day.
Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And isn't that what education is all about? Giving students those skills, that mindset to solve problems, think critically, and be ready for whatever life throws at them.
And some folks are worried that AI, if we don't use it carefully, it could actually undermine that.
It's a real possibility. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a foregone conclusion. Several of your sources suggested that AI, instead of hindering critical thinking, could actually make it better. Different, but better.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about it. What if AI could handle some of those tedious, repetitive tasks that bog students down? Formatting essays, checking for grammar mistakes.
Free up some brain space to actually, think about the bigger picture.
Exactly. It'd be like, all right, AI, take care of the commas and periods. I'm going to go figure out how to solve climate change.
Okay, now that's a future I can get behind. So it's not really about AI versus humans. It's more like, how can they work together, right?
Yeah.
Each doing what they do best.
You got it. And that's where educators, teachers, professors, we have a huge role to play. We got to figure out how to use these tools in a way that makes us better, not worse.
So it's not teaching what to think, but how to think, how to learn, how to keep up in a world where AI is just there all the time.
And let's be real, that world, it's already here. We're way past the point of pretending AI is going away.
Yeah.
So the question isn't if we use it in education, but how? How do we do it so it actually helps students, all students?
One thing that really stuck with me from that student survey, they wanted clear guidelines, rules about AI in school,
They want to know what's allowed, what's not, where the line is.
Exactly.